One Thursday night at Paradise Dish Eatery, Chloe Jack sat down on the lap of the most dangerous man in the room. A consulting contract followed, weeks of sessions, then something that kept becoming more than either of them planned. The corridor was cleared, Yoon came back, the secondary framework was secured. Then the San Pedro contact moved, and Chloe pulled a thread that unraveled 18 months of careful construction by Park Sung-hwan. Baek Sung-jin sent 31 pages instead of an answer. By mid-December, the network was more secure than it had ever been. The corner booth happened. The good tea. The hand across the table. A question Sang-min said he wanted to ask. Not that night. He wanted it to stand on its own. He found a courtyard in Silver Lake using her own methodology. Property records instead of vendor agreements. A 1947 building. A lemon tree planted in 1952. Bougainvillea older than the building itself. He asked her, in the preliminary form, whether marrying him was something she wanted. She said yes. In the courtyard. In front of the lemon tree. Then she went home and wrote one word at the bottom of her own whiteboard. In the space she had been saving without knowing she was saving it. Yes. His reply. Thursday. Soon. Part 15 is where soon arrives. Welcome back. If this is your first time here, parts 1 through 14 are everything you need. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. Now let's get into part 15. She did not ask when. She had decided this on the Friday after the courtyard, sitting at her kitchen table with her tea, looking at the words she had written on the whiteboard, understanding that the specific gift of what he was building was that it would arrive on its own schedule, in its own form, and that asking would be the one thing that could take something away from it. So she did not ask. She had learned, over 7 months, that there was a particular kind of patience required for the people who built things carefully. Yoon had needed 4 years of distance before he found his way back. Baek had needed 7, and even then he had not simply walked through the door. He had slid 31 pages under it first, unable to ask outright for what he wanted, until he had proven, completely, that he deserved to be heard. Sang-min himself had needed 7 months from the first Thursday to the corner booth before he said the thing he had been hoping for since the second one. She understood this kind of patience because she had practiced a version of it her whole life. 2 years rebuilding after William, not rushing the rebuilding because rushing it would have meant doing it badly. 4 months of silence in the VIP section, watching and learning and saying nothing because the moment to speak had not yet arrived. She was good at waiting for things to be ready. She had simply never had to wait for something this specific before. She went back to her own work instead. The new page kept growing, 14 items now, the structure of her practice taking shape with the particular momentum of something that had stopped being theoretical and started being real. She had a name for it now. Not finalized, she was the kind of person who tested names the way she tested clause language, turning them over, checking them against what they needed to do. But close. Margin and method. The two things she actually did. Read what was in the margins. Build the method around what she found there. She told Yoon about it on Wednesday, in the structural council meeting, when the 4 of them had finished the week's review and Baek had left and Dong-suk had gone to handle something operational, and it was just her and Yoon and Sung-min in the quiet aftermath of a productive meeting. Margin and method, Yoon said, turning it over the way she had been turning it over. It's accurate. That matters more to me than it sounding good, she said. It does both, he said. She looked at him. You'd tell me if it didn't. Yes, he said. I would. She believed him. That was, she understood, the entire point of the arrangement they had built together, that the people in the room would tell her the truth rather than what was comfortable, and she would do the same for them, and the structure held because of it rather than in spite of it. Sang-min had been quiet during the exchange, watching with the particular stillness she had learned to read as a man paying full attention without needing to fill the space with his own voice. What do you think? She asked him. I think it's the right name, he said, because it's not trying to be anything other than what it is. That's the highest compliment you give, she said. I know, he said. I'm aware of what I'm giving you. She held his gaze for a moment. Something in it, a specific warmth, deliberate, the quality of a man who was holding something and choosing, with discipline, not to let it show more than he wanted it to show yet. She did not ask. She let it be what it was going to be. Still here? Good. Because soon is almost here. Subscribe and hit the bell. You do not want to miss this one. Let's keep going. The message came at 9 in the morning. Wear something you can walk in. I'll pick you up at 6. She read it twice. 6 in the evening, not the morning, not the particular precision of a Saturday at 10. Evening. A different register entirely. She did not ask where. She had decided that already, on the Friday, sitting with her tea, that whatever came would arrive on its own terms, and that the not asking was itself a kind of gift she could give him, the same way he had spent months learning to give her the full picture without her having to demand it. She spent the day the way she spent most days now, working on the new page, reviewing a document for Yoon that he had asked her opinion on, taking a call from a logistics contact she had been quietly building a relationship with as the first real client conversation for what would eventually be margin and method. The ordinary architecture of a Thursday that did not yet know it was going to become something else. At 5:30, she stood in front of her closet for longer than she usually allowed herself. She thought about the courtyard, about what he had said, that he wanted the form to be specific, to mean exactly one thing, to have her name in it. She thought about what that meant for what she should wear, and then she thought that overthinking the clothing was its own kind of managing, the specific thing she had spent 7 months teaching him not to do, and she should not do it to herself either. She chose something simple, something that let her walk easily, the way the message had asked. Dark, practical, the kind of clothing that did not announce itself and did not need to. He arrived at 5:58, she noted it. 2 minutes early, which was unusual for him, the small deviation from his exact precision, telling her something about the particular quality of what was ahead without him needing to say a word. He looked at her when she opened the door, the full, unguarded version, with something underneath it she had not seen before. Not nervousness exactly, but its careful, controlled cousin. The specific quality of a man who had planned something completely and was now standing at the edge of executing it. "You're early," she said. "I know," he said. She got in the car. They did not drive far. 15 minutes, west and slightly north, into a part of the city she recognized but had not been to in months. The car slowed on a residential street, with old jacaranda trees lining both sides, bare now in December, their particular skeletal winter shape against the darkening sky. He parked. He came around and opened her door, which he did not always do, another small deviation, another piece of information. "Walk with me," he said. They walked half a block. He stopped in front of a gate. Wrought iron, old, the particular patina of decades of weather, set into a low stone wall that bordered a property she could not fully see from the street. He opened the gate. Inside was a garden. Not large, not grand, a modest residential garden behind a modest house, the kind of property that had probably been ordinary when it was built and had become, through decades of careful tending, something else entirely. Citrus trees along one wall. A fig tree in the corner, bare-branched for winter but unmistakably old, its trunk thick with the specific gnarled history of 70 or 80 years. String lights, recently hung, she understood immediately, not original to the garden, strung through the branches of the fig tree and along the perimeter wall, warm and low and deliberately placed. And at the center of the garden, a single table, set for two, a lantern at its center, lit. She stood at the gate and looked at it. "Whose garden is this?" she said. "Mine," he said. "As of 3 weeks ago." She turned to look at him. "I bought it," he said. "The house with it. I have not moved in. I have not done anything to it, except hire someone to confirm the fig tree's age and hang the lights tonight, and set this table." He paused. "I wanted you to see it before I changed anything, before it became mine in the way that erases what it already was." She looked at the fig tree, at the specific gnarled quality of decades of growth, untouched, unmanaged, simply allowed to become what it had become. "How old?" she said. "The fig tree is approximately 90 years old," he said. "Older than the house. The previous owners believe it predates their family's ownership, which goes back to 1958. Nobody knows who planted it." She walked toward it slowly. She put her hand on the trunk. 90 years of bark, weathered and ridged, holding the particular cool solidity of something that had been standing in this exact spot through every version of Los Angeles that had existed since before either of their parents were born. 90 years, she said. 90, he confirmed. I told you the form needed to be specific. I could not find anything older that was also available to actually belong to us, so I bought the oldest one I could find that we could keep. She turned from the tree to look at him. You bought a house, she said, with a 90-year-old fig tree in the backyard, for tonight. I bought a house with a 90-year-old fig tree, he said, because I want somewhere to bring you that is not a place we visit and then leave. I want somewhere we tend, the way the courtyard in Silver Lake has been tended, the way the hardware store and the ceramics workshop and the bookshop have all been tended. He paused. I want this to be ours, the way those places are theirs. Built carefully, chosen continuously, proof that someone cared enough to keep showing up. She held his gaze across the garden, the string lights warm above them, the December evening settling into full dark around the edges of the lit space. Sit with me, he said. They sat at the small table, the lantern between them, the fig tree behind him, 90 years of patient growth holding still in the December air. He reached into his jacket, he produced a small box, not elaborate, not performed, the specific understatement she had come to expect from everything he chose deliberately. He set it on the table. He did not open it yet. I told you in the courtyard that I wanted to ask you something with your name in it, he said. Something specific. I have been thinking about the right words since before the corner booth. I know, she said. I am going to tell you what I actually want, he said, rather than what is traditional to say in this moment. Because you have always wanted the accurate thing over the performed thing, and I am not going to stop giving you that now. Tell me, she said. I want to build a life with you, the way I have learned, from you. To build everything else, he said. Carefully, honestly, with the whole picture visible rather than managed, with room on the whiteboard for what hasn't happened yet, and the discipline to write things down rather than carry them alone. He held her gaze. I want a marriage that functions the way the structural council functions, where the people inside it tell each other the truth because the structure is stronger for it, not in spite of it. She was very still. I am not asking you to be protected, he said. I am asking you to be a permanent, full voice in everything I build for the rest of my life, including the parts that have nothing to do with the organization, especially those parts. He paused. The garden was very quiet around them, the string lights holding their warm, low glow, the 90-year-old fig tree standing patient behind him, the December night settling fully now around the small lit circle of the table. I have built things that lasted 20 years, he said. I have learned, this year, what it means to build something that could last longer than that. Not because of structure, but because of choice. Because the people inside it kept deciding it was worth continuing. I want that with you. Not the version that requires management or protection or careful handling. The version that is simply true, the way the fig tree is simply true, the way it has been standing here for 90 years, because nobody needed to force it to. She held his gaze across the small table. He opened the box. The ring inside was simple. Not small, not understated to the point of disappearing, but precise. A single stone, the particular cut and setting of something chosen by someone who had thought carefully about what would suit her specifically, rather than what was generically expected. Chloe Jack, he said, will you marry me? She looked at the ring, at the fig tree behind him, 90 years old, patient and gnarled, and entirely indifferent to the question being asked beneath its branches, the way everything that lasted was indifferent to any single moment, because it had outlasted so many moments already, and would outlast this one too, not by erasing it, but by holding it, the way the bark held 90 years of weather, the way the courtyard's lemon tree held 72 years of tending, the way a wrong price list in a dead man's handwriting held 55 years of someone refusing to look at a wall without something of him on it. She looked at Sung-min, at the man who had built an organization to last 20 years, and was now, in a garden with a 90-year-old fig tree, asking her to help him build something that would last even longer. Yes, she said, I will marry you. He took the ring from the box. He took her hand, the same gesture as the bookshop, as the courtyard, as every moment between them that had required certainty rather than words, Except this time it did not end with simply holding. He slid the ring onto her finger, with the same unhurried precision he brought to everything that mattered to him. She looked at it on her hand. Then she looked at him. He pulled her into him, and she let him, and the string lights held their warm, low glow through the branches of a fig tree that had been standing in this exact garden for 90 years, and would, she understood with complete certainty, be standing here for many more. Tended now, by two people who had decided, carefully and on purpose, that this was something worth choosing. We are right where this story has been going since the first Thursday, and there is so much more to say. Subscribe and hit the bell. Drop a comment right now, I need to hear from you. Let's keep going. They stayed in the garden for hours. Madame Choi sent food. Chloe learned this an hour in, when Taeho arrived quietly at the gate with containers from Paradise Dish Eatery, the specific dishes Chloe had eaten there during her 4 months on the floor, the food Sung-min had ordered without telling her, because he had wanted the corner booth's particular history present at the table, even though they were nowhere near the restaurant itself. She insisted, Taeho said, setting the containers down. She said tonight needed her food in it. How did she know? Chloe said. Mr. Lee called her 3 weeks ago, Taeho said. When he found the garden, he told her what he was planning. She has been waiting since. Chloe looked at Sung-min. You told Madame Choi before you told me. I told her I was planning something, he said. Not what. She guessed the rest. She has been guessing the rest since the second Thursday. By her own account. Taeho left them. They ate in the garden under the string lights with the fig tree holding its 90 years of quiet behind them, and she told him about margin and method, the full shape of it now, the 14 items, the name Yoon had confirmed and Sung-min had called accurate. When do you start taking clients? He said. January, she said. I have the logistics contact I mentioned. There are 2 others I've been in conversation with. You built all of this while I was finding fig trees, he said. You found the fig tree because of what I taught you, she said. I built margin and method because of everything I learned watching how you build things. She held his gaze. We've been building toward the same place from different directions, same as Yoon and Baek. Different methods, he said. Same architecture. Yes, she said. He was quiet for a moment, looking at the ring on her hand in the lantern light. I want to ask you something else, he said. Not tonight. The way I asked the first thing, this one I want your honest answer to right now, because it changes how I plan the next several months. Ask, she said. When, he said. Not a date specifically, the general shape of it. Soon, or not soon, large or small. I want to build the wedding the way I built tonight, around what you actually want, not what is traditional or expected. She thought about it honestly, the way she thought about everything that mattered. Small, she said. People who actually know us. Not an audience, a room full of people who would notice if either of us were not being ourselves. She looked at the fig tree, and not rushed. I don't need urgency. I've had enough urgency in the past year to last a long time. I want this to be the thing we build carefully, the way everything else we've built has been built carefully. How long is carefully? He said. I don't know yet, she said. But I know it's not a number I'm picking right now, just to give you an answer. It's a number we figure out together, the way we figure everything out. He nodded slowly. That's the answer I was hoping for, he said, though I would have built whatever timeline you gave me. I know, she said. That's why I gave you the real one instead of the convenient one. He reached across the table and took her hand again. The hand with the ring on it now, the weight of it still unfamiliar, the particular newness of something that would, she understood, stop being new and start being simply true the longer she wore it. Margin and method, he said, and the fig tree, and the whiteboard, and whatever comes after all of it. Continuation, she said. Continuation, he agreed. She looked up at the string lights threaded through the fig tree's bare winter branches, the warm, low glow of them holding against the full dark that had settled over the garden. She thought about how strange and exact it was that the tree should be bare right now, not in leaf, not showing the fullness it would carry in summer, but stripped down to its essential structure, the 90 years of growth visible in the branches themselves rather than hidden behind foliage. It seemed right. A tree showing you exactly what it was made of, with nothing covering the shape of its history. It's bare, she said, looking at it. Figs go dormant in winter, he said. It will leaf out again in spring. I know, she said. I just think it's right that we're seeing it like this. Not dressed up. Just what it actually is. He followed her gaze to the tree. I thought about that too, he said. When I chose the date, I could have waited for spring, when it would look more like what people expect a garden to look like. Why didn't you? Because I didn't want you to fall in love with the leaves, he said. I wanted you to see the structure first, the thing that's actually holding everything else up. She looked at him. You've been thinking about metaphors, she said. I've been thinking about you, he said. The metaphors followed. She got home near midnight. She did not go to bed immediately. She went to the whiteboard. She stood in front of it with her coat still on, the ring catching the light from her kitchen lamp, and she looked at everything that had accumulated there since the night she had first put it up. The vendor matrix, fully resolved. The investigation side, 16 items. Park Seung-hwan's name, connected to everything that had been built, and everything that had been used to close it. The new page, architecture, the Meridian Pacific note, 14 items of margin and method taking shape. And at the bottom, in the space she had been saving, yes, she thought about the night she had first stood in front of this board, weeks ago, mapping a vendor risk matrix because she needed somewhere to think on paper, instead of just inside her own head. She had not known then what the board would become. She had thought it was a tool for a specific problem. The San Pedro contact, the 11 undone assessments, the careful work of closing a network's vulnerabilities one relationship at a time. It had become something much larger than that. A record, not just of threats closed and structures secured, but of a life being built in real time, visible to herself first, then to the people she trusted. The same principle she had taught Sang-min to apply to his own thinking, applied now to her own. She picked up the marker. She added one line beneath the word at the bottom. Small, specific, the kind of addition that did not need to announce itself because the word above it had already done the announcing. December 19th, the date. Not a wedding date, they had not chosen one yet, and she had meant what she said about not rushing it. The date of tonight, the date a 90-year-old fig tree had held a small lantern-lit table and a question with her name in it. She stepped back and looked at the whole board. Every part of her life that mattered was on it now. The work she had done for someone else's organization, fully resolved. The work she was building for herself, taking shape with careful, deliberate momentum, and the thing that was neither work, nor crisis, nor structure to be managed, the thing that was simply hers, simply chosen, simply true. She capped the marker. She took off her coat. She looked at the ring on her hand one more time in the kitchen light. Then she picked up her phone and texted Sang-min. I added tonight to the whiteboard. His reply came in under a minute, the way it always did. What did you write? She looked at her own handwriting in her photograph of the board. She typed back exactly what she had written. December 19th. A pause. Then, good. That's the date I'm going to remember too. She held her phone for a long moment. Then she typed, good night. Sang-min. His reply, good night. Chloe Lee. She looked at that. At the name that was not yet legally hers, that might not even be the name she chose to take, that he had used anyway, with the particular quiet certainty of a man imagining a future he intended to build toward with the same patience he had built everything else. She did not correct him. She put the phone down. She turned off the kitchen light. She stood for one more moment in the dark apartment with the whiteboard barely visible across the room, the word at the bottom of the new page catching what little light remained. Yes. December 19th. Outside, Los Angeles moved through its December night, indifferent, alive, full of every possible future, entirely unaware that somewhere within it, in an apartment on the west side of the city, a woman who had once sat down in the wrong seat at exactly the right time was standing in her kitchen with a new ring on her hand, and the particular complete stillness of someone who had stopped waiting for her life to become what she wanted it to be, and had simply, carefully, one Thursday at a time, built it herself. That is where part 15 ends. The fig tree. The ring. December 19th. Written on a whiteboard beneath a single word that had been waiting in the blank space for what hadn't happened yet. Margin and method has a name and a January start date. And somewhere in the structural council, the work continues. Because resolution was never the end of the story. Continuation was always the rest of it. Subscribe, hit the bell, and drop a comment. What do you think the wedding looks like? And what do you think happens to margin and method once it's real? I raid every single one. Don't go anywhere.